Hey guys, this is Darshan Lokhande. I am a pre-final year BTech CSE student at IIIT Pune. Welcome to our channel Learn Competitive Programming with CodeChef. If you are interested in competitive programming and want to learn data structures and algorithms, this is the one-stop destination for you. We post weekly problem explanations and concept videos. So don't forget to subscribe to our channel by hitting that subscribe button and also the bell icon. The problem that we are going to solve today is even sum. The problem appeared in January lunchtime and has a difficulty level of very easy. There are no prerequisites for this problem, so even a beginner can easily solve this problem. The problem statement goes as follows. We are given an integer array A consisting of n integers and two players take alternate turns to place the signs plus or minus in front of these integers. So for example, if I have an array A with me containing 5 integers, two players will play a game on this array. The players are player 1 and 2 respectively, and they play turns alternatively. And in each turn, what they do is that they choose a number from this array and place a sign in front of it. So for example, player 1 can place a sign plus over here, then player 2 has to play, then he can place a sign minus, then player 3 can again place a sign, sorry, player 1 can again place a sign minus over here, and so on. So they take turns and play the game. But who decides the winner of the game? So it is given in the question that after the game is being played, at the end of the game, we find the sum of all these elements. That is, we find the sum plus 2 plus 3 minus 5 minus 1 plus 8. We evaluate this sum and find the value. So in this case, you can see that this sum comes out to be 7. And we decide the winner of the game depending on the parity of this sum. So this sum can either be even or it can be odd. So it is given in the question that if this resulting sum is even, then player 1 wins. If the sum is even, player 1 wins, but if the sum is odd, player 2 wins. So what is our task in the question? Our task is that given the array and the numbers in the array, we have to find that who will win the game if both the players play optimally. What do you mean by optimally? Optimally means that both players play the game as if they have to win the game. So they don't play random moves, but they play as if they want to win the game. So in that scenario, we want to find out who will win the game. So before we begin to discuss the actual solution, let's first revise the concept of parity. Or in simple words, parity means the state of a number being either even or odd. So we all know that whole numbers or integers in general can be divided into two classes, that is either an even number or an odd number. And we all also know that even numbers are, for example, 0, 2, 4, 6, 8, and so on. That is numbers that are multiples of 2, and other integers like 1, 3, 5, 7 are odd integers, right? So these are the basics and everyone knows this. But what is the concept of parity in this question in particular or in general that you should remember? So it's not about a number being even or odd, it's about how the parity changes when we apply mathematical operations on these numbers. So mathematical operations like addition, subtraction, multiplication, and so on. So in this question, we are particularly concerned about adding and subtracting numbers. So I'll be focusing on this. So to quickly revise, we can always find the general rules for parity. Like for example, an odd number plus odd number always results in an even number. Everyone knows that, right? It's pretty obvious. Similarly, an even number plus even number always results in an even number, or we can write an odd number plus an even number results in an even number, and so on. So you can make rules like this, right? And they are pretty apparent, but the important point to observe is that adding or subtracting an even number doesn't change the parity. What does this mean? So if I have an even number or an odd number and I add or subtract an even number, the resulting parity is the same as that of the original number. That is, it remains even in this case and odd in this case. So no matter how many additions and subtraction of even numbers I do, the parity remains the same. You can check this for yourself by taking some simple examples like small numbers like 2, 4, 6, 8 or 1, 3, 5, 7. So these are some basics of parity that I wanted to discuss before beginning with the actual solution. So now let's get back to our question. So assume that the array that you are given consists of 4 elements, let's say, a general case, okay, and the elements or the numbers are respectively A, B, C, and D, okay. So what if all the signs were positive signs? That is, all the in all moves the players place the sign as plus. So the sum would have been A plus B plus C plus D, right? So let me term this sum as the original sum. So ORIG underscore sum. So this is my original sum, that is sum of all the elements initially present in the array. But this will not be the case always, right? Because some numbers may have minus sign placed in front of them. For example, if the after the all the assignments, the array looks like two numbers, that is B and D have minus sign, then the array would look like this, that is A has plus sign, C also has plus sign, and two numbers B and D have minus sign. So I'm taking a general case that two numbers have minus sign. So how can I represent this sum using my original sum? So if you observe carefully, the expression for this new assignment would be A minus B plus C minus D, right? But this can also be written as A plus B plus C plus D minus 2B minus 2D. That is, I am taking my original sum, that is A plus B plus C plus D, and subtracting twice of B and twice of D from it to uh, to involve the effect of this negative sign, right? So how can we write this in general terms? So any sum that we get after placing plus or minus sign, it can be written as sum is equals to original sum minus even numbers. Why even numbers? Because you can see that these numbers 2b 2d are always going to be even because they are definitely a multiple of 2. So I have my original sum and I'm subtracting some even numbers from it. So most of you might have got the solution by now that why parity was important, because we just now saw that adding or subtracting even numbers doesn't change the parity of a number. So whatever is the parity of the original sum is also the parity of the resultant sum. That is, subtracting even numbers does not change the parity. So what is our final solution to this problem? Our final solution is that as soon as we get the array, we find this original sum. Once we have this original sum, we can definitely find its parity depending on whether this original sum is even or odd. And now we know expression of the type plus minus A plus minus B plus minus C or plus minus D can be represented as sum is equals to original sum minus even numbers, and its parity is going to be same as that of original sum. So depending on the parity of original sum, I decide my winner of the game. That is, if the sum is even, player 1 wins the game, and if the sum is odd, player 2 wins the game. So the approach was pretty straightforward. Only the thing was that you need to know the concept of parity and how you can apply it in mathematical operations like plus or minus. So pretty easy question. And also to state one more thing, it was given in the question that the players play optimally, but by now you must have understood that no matter how the players play and where they place the signs, the answer is pre-decided. That is, as soon as you get the array, you already know who is going to win the game. So that is why we don't even need to perform these operations of placing the signs and all. We can directly tell the winner of the game on the basis of parity of the original sum. So now that we have seen the solution, let's get to the implementation. So we begin the code by taking the input for number of test cases. Then for each test case, we first take the input, that is the size of the array. So LLN C in n. And now we have to take the input for the n integers in the array. So we create a for loop for that. And each time we input a number, let's say num. So after inputting the number, we have to calculate the original sum, that is sum of all numbers. So for that, I create a variable initially, that is original sum, orig underscore sum, and initialize it to 0. And every time I take a number as input, I increment my original sum by that value. So this way I am calculating the sum of the array while taking the input of the array itself. And once this for loop is done, I have my original sum with me. Now only thing that's left is to check the parity of original sum. So I check that if original sum modulo 2 equals 0, it means that it's an even number. So in that case, I output 1 as my answer, that is player 1 wins. Else I output that player 2 wins the game. And that's it. The implementation is this simple. So now that we are done with the implementation, let's submit this code on CodeChef ID and let's hope for a quick AC. Also, while the code is running, I would like to tell you about our channel, that is Learn Competitive Programming with CodeChef. So we post a numerous amount of videos on various competitive programming concepts on our YouTube channel, and also on our Unacademy goal, that is Learn Competitive Programming. So you can find a number of concept videos on our YouTube channel as well as on Unacademy, and you can learn a lot from them. Like many questions have prerequisites and you must be wondering where to learn these things from. So our channel and the Unacademy course are the one-stop destination for you. Also, we have many mini courses on topics like backtracking, linked list, number theory, and so on, which are taken by our educators for free on YouTube as well as Unacademy. So you can find these courses and their links on the CodeChef page under this practice and learn section by the name of CP tutorials. So make sure you visit these courses, and because they are very helpful for problem solving in general. So you can have a look at them. And if you want even more structured content, we have a plus subscription on Unacademy where the same educators teach even more concepts but in a structured manner. So if you want to avail that plus subscription, you can even do that. But don't forget to use my referral code DarshanCode25 while doing so. Now coming back to our solution, yes, we have got a green tick. It means that our code was correct and it works.